a study being released by Indian researchers, uncanny similarity of unique inserts in the 2019 nCoV spike protein to HIV-1, JP120, and GAG, a paper that within the boundaries of peer-reviewed science, and this is not yet peer-reviewed, it's on a biological archive for now, but within the boundaries of serious researchers, this article goes as far as it can go in trying to dog whistle to us, guys, this is not normal. We found some parts of HIV in this virus.
Yeah, it's not the natural process for a virus like this to grow. I think they said it was more the length of time is if it were to mutate to a point where it would I guess adapt in a way where it had markers of HIV, it wouldn't do it this rapidly. So
exactly.
My conspiracy to put on my tinfoil hat is that it is a man-made. I don't believe that it was released intentionally at this time. So
we'll have a look at the details. As a reminder to our crowd, you can answer your own view on the question answered by Annika. Do these findings lead you to think it is more probable that the coronavirus was man-made than not? And Annika seems to be tending toward the yes. We're going to have a look at all this and why this doesn't look very natural. First of all, in the previous shows, I've been saying, look, these proteins are within the natural expectation for a bad virus, and I was looking at the proteins in general. It's still the same conclusion if you look at the proteins in general, but what these researchers have looked at is these specific special insertions here, 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 and here, and all of these insertions were extremely different from what we knew from other bat coronavirus, and they thought, well, maybe we can find some structural similarity with random viruses here and there. And once they've run their search specifically on these subsequences, what do they find? All of the sequences align with a known HIV virus, two proteins actually of an HIV virus, JP120 and GAG. So here are the sequence of alignment. You can see this one is a perfect copy between the Wuhan Coronavirus and HIV. This one is also a perfect copy of 6 amino acids. This one is a perfect copy except an insertion of 3 more into the HIV virus. And this one is a perfect copy except an insertion of many amino acids in the middle. So when we look at this, it is complicated, and we are here at the border between human brewing and engineering or random coincidence in natures. How do you approach these sequences and conclude this is human or this is not human? Accidents
I agree with
traces.
you is essentially what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that it wouldn't just have the 4 to 6 changes. It would there would be more of an evolutionary.
Yeah, a single natural
an adaptation, I should say.
Yeah, a single natural accident could switch the entire line of amino acids from here to here, and you would find these spots. But this seems extremely specific. And when they reconstruct the protein in 3D, it's even more clear that these particular switches have all been made in the site of the spike of the coronavirus protein. You can see it in red, orange, yellow, and green here. This is clearly structural changes that were necessary for the spike of the coronavirus to infect humans better. And so it's so specific. I don't see a whole random sex event between HIV and coronavirus as being extremely likely here. So then we are left with the last 2 hypotheses. A Chinese researcher could say, look, I've been working all my life on the coronavirus and the HIV. I've noticed that these particular sequences were extremely important in the HIV. I want to test if they are so good as I think they are. I'm going to put them on a coronavirus to see if it can help infecting, I don't know, my laboratory rats. So that would be the human hypothesis. And this is what you're converging toward?
Yeah, and then maybe he dropped it in a Starbucks cup. How do you
Maybe,
think it got outside of the lab?
That's what I would suspect. I would suspect not a maniacal
Vapor?
guy who says, I want to invade the world, but a guy who
Yeah.
just
Um,
poorly cleans his stuff and leaves the lab.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. We could also look at who holds the vaccines or any patents on maybe treatment. If we know who holds patents on treatments or vaccines for things like this, maybe we can work backwards and find out who would have motive.
Another thing that people may not know is that when you make that kind of recipe in the lab, when you want to test, okay, I want to insert my HIV inserts into this virus, you will often rely on a third. You will. I want to pause the coronavirus. You will often rely on third-party companies, and so what you're going to do, you're going to send them an email, or you're going to send them a file, and you're going to say, "Please create this RNA virus for me," and they're going to send it. Very few researchers do their own in universities. Yeah. So if this was man-made, there would be a trace left on the internet or somewhere that this has been requested, and you should have exactly the sequence that's there or close to it, because let's keep in mind, whatever a researcher would have done there would be followed by evolution. So the virus is evolving, and the viruses that we see right now in Wuhan may have a little changes from the moment a scientist has touched them. Because we've covered so much of the man-made hypothesis, I want also to give a fair representation of the alternative hypothesis, which in my view is still possible. These sites, okay, they are important for the spike protein to attach to human cells. These sequences are not unique to HIV. I think it's pretty hardcore to find 4 of them that all correspond to the HIV virus, but it's not impossible. You can find these sequences in other organisms, some of them not even being viruses. And why? It's because this kind of shape that they contribute to is extremely important to arrimate to the human cells. And so it's not necessarily surprising to find some resemblance. It's just that, as the researchers call them, the resemblance here are uncanny. That being said, nature can lead to uncanny results. I mean, our own bodies is an example of something that looks like an engineered thing, but we were created by natural selection. And it's also possible to obtain similar sequences like this from natural selection. So I'm definitely not excluding that this is an act of nature. Now, people have been saying, Jeff, is that anyhow linked to Dr. He? Well, here's how it's linked. First, it's linked because it's in China, and it's linked because it could be a major bioethical breach. Dr. He, we will remember, had modified human beings genetically without permission, giving them HIV protection by removing the CCR5 gene from their cells. And in fact, what we know about these sequences of amino acid in HIV is that they are creating high affinity for the CCR5 gene. So essentially, the current Wuhan coronavirus is a coronavirus that has the hooks of HIV, and it hooks to in exactly the same way to the cells in your body. Now, it will not attack your immunological system the way AIDS does, because it's a coronavirus. It's a coronavirus that now uses a HIV-like strategy to stick to your cells. All right. And we also, I was mentioning that there are other organisms that can have these sequences. Here you have, for example, the 3 first are the Wuhan coronavirus. This is one of the sequence we've been looking at. And look at the Yao family outer membrane beta-barrel protein from a bacteria, 100%. What that means is that 100% and percentage identity 73%. And look at the Magnetospirillum magnetotacticum, probably a bacteria, 100% too. So these things can be found in nature. The weird thing is that we found 4 of them in the same coronavirus in a way that scientists typically like to do. Scientists love changing the spikes at the extremity because they know it's so important to attach to biological cells. People are complaining that the doctors in China are arrested for revealing the truth. This is the video by Serpenza. He's reporting that very early, at the end of December, there were already researchers just exchanging on Telegram groups and stuff of the kind, and the government cracked down on them and said, you are spreading false rumors. And there are currently more than 10 researchers, from what I understand, and 10 doctors from hospitals that are currently in jail for raising the alarm sound too early. So it's a mix of a biological invasion and a problem of human rights too here. Depp says, could there be horizontal genetic transference between HIV and coronavirus? My take on this is it's possible, but in what we see right now, when I look at this sequence of amino acids, it's extremely unlikely. Because 4 little functional sites like this do not transfer independently without the middle, the in-between being transferred to. So I would find it extremely unlikely, personally, that it just so happens that 4 functional sites have independently mixed between HIV and this and left no other trace. But there's been contrary evidence. People have been saying, well, some of the first patients were not from the seafood market. So perhaps what we have is an initial seed who then touched a lot of meat at the seafood market, who then led to the first wave of 40 or 50 patients. To show you the little segments of this article where they are trying to dog whistle, look, this looks very man-made. We see here in the abstract, all of which have identity/similarity to amino acid residues in key structural proteins of HIV-1, is unlikely to be fortuitous in nature. Now, this can mean 2 things, and they've given themselves the plausible deniability because, okay, well, if it's convergent evolution and if it's natural selection, it's not fortuitous. There was a mechanism that led to these similarities, but clearly the researchers are trying to say, with all the words they have available, there is a possibility of a man-made decision here in creating this virus. Another segment here, they say, suggests that this is not a random fortuitous finding, and they are highlighting the fact that these are extremely short stretches that change the life of this virus totally and that are not contiguous. When you have a recombinant event, you have contiguous change. You have a chunk of the genome that you see disappear and reappear in a different form. This is more fine. This is the work of an autist incel, I think, Annika. What do you think about this hypothesis?
That this is the work of a what? A Wuhan incel?
Yes.
Oh you guys are gonna get me canceled. Oh my god.
No, I mean this is fine work. Whoever, if this is man-made, I'm predicting that we have an incel man here.
Considering the number of hours that they've spent in the lab, I would say that they are likely celibate and it is likely involuntary, but I don't know if they identify as an incel until they... I'm not going to use that term as a pejorative. you can't make me.
Another segment here. This is startling as it is quite unlikely for a virus to have acquired such unique insertions naturally in a short duration of time. This is what's stunning here, because when you see the parallel between life forms like birds and bats, you know that this has happened over 500 million years of separation. Here we have a virus that seems to have integrated exactly what it needed to integrate to become more
in like 6
potent.
weeks.
In a few weeks, or at best a few years, if these things have been existing in bats in nature for a long time. So that is quite stunning. And not only that, the HIV, the fact that this is all sequences found in HIV, this is exactly what a human would do. They would go for the worst virus that they can think, and then they would go for the worst airborne virus that they can think, and they would mix the two. That should also be included in our evaluation of the likelihood of man-made intervention. Citizen Olympic says the R0 of the virus is 4.08. Very, very high. That is true. People have been assessing the spread. It is more than exponential. It is vertical at this point. It is rising extremely quick. And that's what makes this virus worrying, right?
Yeah, I wanted to, if you're exhausted on the coronavirus, at least until we can find out more information on it. I mean, it feels like we're very limited, and the only thing we can do is speculate, and our speculation makes us look crazy. So, at least me, I think it's, I don't know, I think it's man-made, and I think it's, I think, you know, I don't know. I don't think it was released intentionally, but I can't imagine that someone would have made it unless they wanted to either make a vaccine and then at some point release it in the future, or use it as a bioweapon. I mean, I can't imagine any other reason.
That is definitely a rational position. I wouldn't say it with certainty, but definitely the possibility of an accident as part of a lab should be opened, and is a serious one, more than it's ever been today.